Welcome to Thinking Out Loud, conversations for the Ignite Her Collective. I'm Gabrielle, and around here, we don't chase motivation, we build ignition. This is for the women who've done everything right, the business, the family, the goals, but still feel like something's missing. In this space, we talk about what comes after success, the moments where your fire starts to flicker, and the identity work that reignites it. Because you don't need more pep talks or productivity hacks, you need safety, rhythm, and belonging that actually lasts. So take a breath, settle in, and let's think out loud together. Hello and welcome to another episode of Thinking Out Loud, conversations for the Ignite Her Collective. And today I'm super excited to be joined by Steph Lenne to the podcast. So Steph is the founder of High Quality Human. She helps women stop being the glass ceiling in their own business by going deep on who they really are sort of behind the scenes. And she's a pattern wizard, a straight talker, and she's exactly the kind of guest this show was made for. So welcome, Steph, to Thinking Out Loud.
Thank you so much, beautiful. Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited for our conversation today and the beautiful intro. Thank you.
Awesome. So what I like to do with my guests is the first question is kind of ask them what season they're currently in, just to get a feel of where they're at in life.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. What a cool question. The first thing that popped into my mind when you asked me that question is almost this feeling of I have two young children and my girl is 2.5. And I feel like I'm coming out of a season where I've had a baby, it's like I don't have a baby anymore. She's no longer breastfeeding. Pardon?
She's the youngest?
Yes. So my 2.5-year-old is the youngest. And so I just have this feeling of coming out of that and just seeing so much space and so much opportunity. I'm a super visual person. You probably learned this inside of this podcast episode as well. But I just see like so much space and so much opportunity. And it's cool we just get to straight into this. But even last year, 2025, was a little bit of a season of who am I now? And I was 3 years into my business and kind of brought into a little bit of the noise. And 2026, like right now, the season just feels like Steph Lenne. Like I know who I am. I know what I'm here to do. I know who I'm here to have conversations with. It's almost this unpacking of, I don't really care. You either like me or you hate me. Like that's actually where I'm at the moment. I'm feeling that. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Amazing. I love that. That's really exciting. I can't wait to hear about all the visions and the opportunities. So before that, and I know you've moved sort of up, you mentioned the Northern Rivers, like what was it before that? Like what did it look like? You said you've been in your own business, founder for 3 years. Like what was life like for you prior to that?
Yeah, so it's actually, I'd say 5 years ago, I was corporate 9 to 5, great 6-figure salary, driving the Range Rover Evoque, working in corporate, climbing the ladder, second to the director, like life was just as it was supposed to be. And I remember 2020 hitting and being like the biggest wake up call for me. So many areas of my life changed. And one day I was driving home from work and I just remember thinking like, this is not it. Like, surely this is not it. My husband had called me and through the speakers of my beautiful Range Rover Evoque, I could hear my son, who was at the time about 10 months old, I'd gone back to work, screaming and crying through the speakers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was stuck in traffic. There was no way I could get home any quicker than I could. And I was like, I'm done. Like, this is not it. This is not it. Like I had everything. And at the same time, it wasn't what I wanted to be doing.
I just got goosebumps all over.
Yeah. So in those moments, I had no idea what I was going to do. And I remember this so vividly thinking, I have no idea what it's going to look like, because I actually didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't envision myself being a business owner. In fact, I was the star employee. Like I've got this sorted. My boss is going overseas. He's taking his family on the Disney tour. Don't worry, I've got everything sorted here. Like I was just the best employee. And it never actually occurred to me that I could run my own business or facilitate my own company. And so that was a pivotal moment. I just remember sitting in the car and it being like, fuck no, like something has to change, shift, and let's just do that. And so that just started me on this new journey. And yeah, that was the moment.
Yeah, that's so interesting because clearly you're a very, very capable woman, but that had never crossed your mind that you could do what you're already doing. I mean, you're running somebody else's business, but you didn't feel like you could do it for yourself. Like to be able to
Mm.
make that, like to have that pause and take the space and go, no, this is not what I want. Like I feel like so many women, maybe they have that thought of this is not what I want, but they still don't have that courage to step out of it and say, I want something different for myself and for my family. Like, what do you think, like, was it that pushed you to do that exactly? If there was something specific.
Yeah, I think it was just wanting my life to look different. I remember at the time starting to get really curious about what other people were doing online and how they were creating incomes and businesses and living at the beach. And at that time, I lived in suburban Melbourne and I was like such a beach girl. I wanted to be in the sun, and that wasn't my reality there. And I was like, I want to go and live somewhere like that. And instead of, and actually it's funny because I have been creating some content around this lately because it feels so big again for me because I'm in another era of my business, but I'll share with you where it started. I remember sitting there and thinking everybody keeps saying like Instagram is the highlight reel. They're not that happy. They can't be that happy. They can't be. And it was always like this rhetoric of it's just a highlight reel and
Yeah.
almost dismissing the part where you could actually make your life really, really, really good if you wanted to. And so I remember at that time thinking, you know what? I'm not going to perceive this as a highlight reel anymore. Instead,
All
I'm
confident.
going to decide, yeah, like this is actually possible. You
Yeah.
can be that. Your life
Yes.
can be that.
Yeah.
And so that moment was actually just a decision. Like, it's interesting because the reason it's come full circle now is because, this is 5 years later and my life is a fucking highlight reel. Like, I live 250 meters from the beach. It's actually raining today, but I have created my own business. I educate my kids how I want. There's so many incredible things that have happened in my life and who I am and how I feel about my life that
Yeah.
even now people perceive me as that person, right? It's only a highlight reel, or it can't be real, or she can't be. And I think, oh my gosh, it's so funny. I remember that from 5 years ago when people were thinking that. And I'm like, oh, I just want to be like, no, it's
Highlight
possible.
reel.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
you're the
possible. Like,
highlight
just go
reel.
for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, people, even if they like, they make the decision, but then they don't take that aligned action to get there. Like, it's one thing to have the thought, have the decision, but you need to create that momentum and step forward, whether you know how it's going to look or not. You just need to
Mm.
step forward and keep going, and the path will just light up. That's what I found anyway. The opportunities just step in front of you.
Yeah, you actually have to create the momentum yourself. So I don't believe that there was anything overly special or pivotal or anything about me to create that first moment of change. It was literally a decision. And
Yeah.
actually, this is something I share with my clients all the time. But if you were to write a post-it note and put it on your wall and say, make 20 decisions a day, and just decide to be the person who makes 20 decisions a day, and those decisions along the way become in alignment with where you actually want to go, not where
Yeah.
you are today, or not what you're scared of, but you
Yeah.
just decide to make some decisions. That is what's going to light that path for you. You create the momentum. So there was nothing that actually happened to make it easier for me. It was that I just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And that's what that has stuck through me through business, because you even don't get this far into your business without moving like that still to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And making those decisions just builds up that muscle, like, and back to that internal authority. I think women, especially with, looking after kids, and then there was COVID for me, especially, I just lost who I was and any sort of trust in my own ability to make decisions. So even if there's small decisions, not needing to sort of go externally for validation of whether I'm making the right decision, just know and trust in yourself and keep making those movements forward. Yeah, cool. So
Yeah.
I kind of like jumped onto one of your posts when you were talking about homeschooling, and that's what connected us. So is that something that you've always known that you would do with your kids, or has it been an evolution, I guess, seeing the system and the school system, how crazy it is?
Yeah. So interesting for me. Like my husband and I are very much on the same page when it comes to educating our kids and the school system. But it was around that 2020 mark where my life was actually not set up to homeschool my kids. Like I was managing someone else's business 5 days a week. I wasn't set up to go and look at, have my kids around me or all of the time. They had to go to school, right? So I
Yeah.
remember it was around about that 2020, and I just decided by what was going on in the world that I didn't like, that I just wanted my kids to be with me and that I wanted to be educating
Yeah.
them and influencing their decisions and like being the one for them.
Mm.
And I didn't even look into the education system, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Like, I think, like,
Yeah.
we know, but I didn't go down the path of like even looking at any schools or looking at any things. It was just like, that's what we're doing.
Yep. So it was more like there was no fear in it. It was like a coming home, like you knew exactly what you wanted. Again, you trust yourself. We know what's best for our kids. So what would a homeschool day actually look like in your house? Like real life, not the Instagram, not the highlights reel, because we all know what it's like with toddlers and babies and kids at home.
Yeah, totally. So for us, and I think that this is funny because I was laughing with you and I was saying to you, I'm not your typical kind of homeschool mom. Like, it's not in my bio. It's not my personality. It's not the number one thing I talk about. And I wouldn't even identify myself as a homeschool mom. It's just
Yep.
we don't send our kids to school, and
Yep.
we educate our kids through life and through conversations and through us doing the work on ourselves to be better humans, so that
Yep.
our children learn better and don't repeat mistakes that we made and all of that. So a typical day for us is we don't rush in the mornings. Like it's not so much a blanket, we need to do this at this time, but it's like a way of living where I don't love to rush my kids. I love my kids to have a beautiful, calm start. I was even this morning, it's an Instagram post or it's an Instagram story, but it's actually real of us sitting in our pajamas on the couch while I'm tickling my daughter's back because she wants her back to be tickled, and my son's sitting next to me, and that's what the morning is. But then from there, we also have a nanny, and our nanny is with the kids a couple of mornings a week.
Yep.
But say, for example, this morning, the nanny has my daughter who's 2.5, and my husband and my son, who is 6.5, they're off doing some projects and doing some work. So every day is slightly different, but we do have like day with dad on a Tuesday and day with mum on a Wednesday. And we do swimming lessons during the day while everyone else is at school. And my son does have a program that he goes to with other incredible homeschool life learning families. And we have our community, we have our friends, because where we live is quite a solid homeschool community. So we do have, because that's the number one thing people say to us all of the times, but they need their friends, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's just hilarious. They have so many friends, right?
And what's the biggest thing that sort of pushback maybe from, if I said that to my family, parents and siblings, it's so foreign to what we grew up with. It's just, their reactions are nuts. So did you have the same thing?
Yeah, and it's very interesting, I think, because, and if anybody maybe doesn't really know who I am right at this point, but a lot of my work or a lot of what I do is actually building my human. And so building me to be in my power, in my conviction. So of course people are going to have their projections, and of course people are going to think the things, but I'm in a season of my life where I literally don't care. Like, it doesn't actually matter. Sometimes it might touch the sides, but I actually don't let it land on me. I'll look at like, oh, what is in this for me? Why am I getting response to this? Oh, okay, look at what it is. But so the number one thing people always say, which makes me laugh now or smile, is, oh, but my kid's really social. So my kid needs to go to school because they love playing with their friends. And I'm like, it's hilarious because of course, like, my son is extremely social. And in fact, we go anywhere and people will say to me, is he homeschool? And I'll say, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we can tell because the way that he can communicate with adults, because he goes into a shop and he has like an actual conversation. And so it's very funny when people say that, or needs to socialize, and they think that he's sitting inside all day.
Like they're sitting down. I mean, I've got 2 little boys and a little girl, but the little boys in there have to sit quietly, can't really speak when they want to. There's so many things wrong with it. And I'm definitely, like I said, we're moving towards it, but it's, socialization. I think the current schooling system, they're certainly not getting a broad section that skill at all.
Totally. We actually love how our son can play with all ages. So that's something that's really cool that we observe with him is he's got a 2.5-year-old sister who he has so much time for, and he will always play with her, and he will play with younger kids, and he will play with older kids, and there's no kind of like have to play with my year level, like because it's not even a thing for us. So he's playing with his friends' younger sisters and then older brothers, and they're all kind of just all play together, which is really cool to be able to witness as well.
I love that. Now, you talked about your work and your brand, and so you talk really openly about being proud of who you are behind the scenes as part of your business. So what does that mean to you personally?
Yeah. So for me, it means how you're showing up, how you're leading, how you're feeling behind your business. Because yes, there is truth where it's like you can show up on Instagram and you can post, or you can be in front of clients and you can be saying this to a client, but then you're getting off a call and you actually don't feel that good. Or, you're like, oh, I hate that client, or oh, she's so draining, or whatever it is, but you're not actually constructing your environment to truly love your life and love your business and the people you work with, and the way that you show up, and how the launch goes, and how the sales go, and whether someone unsubscribes from your email, or whether there's an unhappy customer. It's all of these things that happen behind the scenes to you as the business owner that impacts your business. And so this is the work that I do with my clients. It's not just about the launching and the creating and the offers and the clients and the posting and the emails and all of the things that happen on the front end to build an epic business. It's about what's happening behind the scenes and how you feel, how you show up, how you lead, conversations, beliefs, thoughts you keep having. Patterns, like, people playing out the same pattern with a launch, or the same pattern with a business, or the same pattern with customers, or the same pattern because people keep defaulting on the payments, or whatever it is. It's like seeing where you are actually responsible for that and what you need to shift in order to create a better result in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that leads into your shadow portal.
What Steph just described, that gap between who you show up as on the outside and how you actually feel behind the scenes, that's exactly what we excavate inside Calibration Room 1. Self-Location is my 8-week group coaching program for the woman who's functioning, capable, showing up, but somewhere along the way lost the thread back to herself. We go deep, we dig through the old beliefs, the inherited roles, the stories that have been running the show, until you hit bedrock itself, who you actually are underneath all of it. June intake is now open, maximum 15 women, investment is $995 for the 8 weeks. If you want to know if Room 1 is right for you, take the free quiz, the link is in my show notes. Now, back to Steph's interview.
What made you build it?
One of my programs is called the Shadow Portal, where I really introduce people to the concept of the personal development no one's really talking about. So it is shadow work, it is patterns, it is boundaries, it is standards, it is leadership, but it's all through the lens of seeing where you actually have gaps. Because what we see a lot online, which I love, is pumping everyone up. And of course, my clients actually describe me as lovingly direct. Like, I will give you the truth and I'll tell you I love you, because I do, right? I will tell you the truth because I love you. So instead of kind of going through like just keep going or just keep doing, it's like, no, actually let's have a look at where there's a gap. Let's actually look where you are responsible for this so that you can clean it up, because when you're responsible, you're also the solution. So inside of the Shadow Portal, that I really do introduce people to that style of work. And off the back of that, I do have a conversation about becoming a conscious CEO. And that is like really deeper when it comes to shadow work inside of your business, things that are playing out that you are not aware of. And that is really like, because in my world, I'll teach all about the strategy. We'll have all of these conversations because it is absolutely required. And at the same time, we can't bypass this work, because this is what actually makes the strategy land.
Absolutely. That was my next question, was like, do you think women can truly build the life that they want without doing that inner work first? Because I don't. Because like you say, the patterns just showing up, don't they?
Yes. What I've witnessed, and which I think is really cool, is I do believe you can get to a certain level when it comes to like a surface level mindset and, and a surface level personal development where potentially you've looked at some limiting beliefs, you've looked at, there's affirmations, you're moving different, like there's some things here. But I always say this, and this is from working with complete beginners all the way to 7-figure entrepreneurs, is it will catch you at some point in that journey. Right? You just decide where you're wanting to face it. And if it's at the beginning, it's at the beginning. And for me, it was at the beginning, right? Or you wait and then it will catch you eventually, because I love to say this, but the shadow or this level of work that is actually required does not discriminate based on how much money you're making. It will always catch you, right?
Yeah. Do you think the crash is harder though if you wait?
Yes. Well, I mean, I do, because you become so anchored in your patterning, you become so anchored in your problem, right? And it's there's also this space where you already have had success whilst having the problem. So it's like you're almost more married to the problem. Whereas at the beginning, you're more like, oh, cool, yeah, cool. Like I could stop to do that now. Whereas it's just like become so ingrained. So this would be witnessed in like say a seven-figure entrepreneur, where it's like, no, well, business just feels like this. Well, I just have to do this, right? Like, well, yeah, no, that's just the headache that comes with it. But it's like, but is it, or are you actually choosing it?
Well, it comes back to like the feather, the brick, or the Mack truck, right? Unless we slow down and take the space. And it was definitely so hard for me to do that. But yeah, I got totally burnt out. And you really need to step back to be able to see it, don't you? And I think that's the problem if we're just pushing in this hustle culture for so long, especially for women who, are fighting against so many other traditional societal norms. Women are the stay at home, look after the kids, but when we actually, like I was in the construction space, so that was such a male-dominated industry, and I always just felt like I was trying to prove myself, and I feel like women in the workforce are constantly doing that. So then to say, well, stop and slow down and take the space and actually see where these blocks are, where these triggers are, is really difficult.
Yes, totally. And I think the style of my work, because I'm a hustler at heart, like I actually just love moving, like doing the work, and like I'm a hustler at heart, right? But what I find is that you actually don't need to stop. You don't need to pull back, because I work with people who are like, I'm busy. Like I've got like clients and things, and I'm like, actually doing this work will free time up for you. Right? Because the mental space, the patterns you're repeating, the cycles you keep running in is what's taking your time. Is what is making it harder for you. So it's not about, and I love to have this conversation in my world, it's not actually about pausing and stopping. It's about doing this at the same time as you continue to move.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's like, it's actually both at the same time. You don't need to stop your business, or you don't need, but we need to look at, okay, well, where do we need to actually just clean things up today? Because otherwise people think it's going to take so long and it's going to take, but in fact, it can happen really fast.
How does that look like integrated into your business? When I say stop, I don't mean a month off. I mean just going for the walk on the beach by yourself, or making sure that you make time for your morning meditation, just sitting, reflecting. That has been a game changer with 3 small kids, running a couple of businesses. Having that time out, especially to meditate, it really just grounds me. So yeah, not taking bulk time off, but integrating those things into your day-to-day so that the feather or the brick or the Mack truck doesn't take you out completely and you have to have the month off.
Oh my God. Yes, that's exactly it. So I actually think that that's so beautiful in that way. So it's like, yes, I mean, it's 5 minutes or it's 10 minutes or maybe it's half an hour or maybe, oh my God, it's an hour. But in actually taking that time will save you time.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So I do find that where it's like, and then that is an inversion that I hear in my clients. That's why I guess I speak to that, is like, oh, I don't have time to do that. But it's like, you're actually just going to do it while you're still doing all the other things, but you are going to get time back, because you will be more productive, because you will stop repeating, because you will, like if you're not doing your meditation, then you're sitting down and like brain is like non-existent, or can't think of the next day or to do. So you sit there for an hour. Whereas if you had just done the things you needed to do, you'd be onto it. Yeah.
Do you feel the people who are like, I'm so busy, I'm so, like, that is a story that they're telling themselves? And what would you say is the biggest sort of shadow pattern that you see in the high achieving women?
We absolutely see that, where it's like thinking, okay, this is a good one too, but thinking we need to continue to do the thing that we've always done, right? Like there's some kind of safety, even though the thing that you've been doing is actually the problem or the cause of the problem. You know, it's like so
easy, but it's not moving the needle in my business.
Yeah. And I think if like I'm thinking high achieving women, it's almost like there's two pieces, but it can get to this part where it's like, yeah, I have to do this, or this is all mine, and there's no kind of scope to receive support, or there's no kind of scope to, you know, okay, well, maybe I could have this conversation with my husband or my partner, or maybe I could have this conversation with my team and get them to handle this part of it. It's like this almost martyr energy that we can get into. And I know this because I have experienced myself, especially when I was employed with my boss, right? But
will fall apart if I give it to somebody else or if I take a day off.
Yeah. And there's almost like my conversation with that woman would be like, what are you actually getting out of this? Like, because who do you get to be when you continue to play this out?
Belonging.
What do you love about this? Yeah.
Needed.
And they'll say nothing. I'm not getting anything out of this. This is no good. And I'm like, but there is a part of you that actually loves this because it's fulfilling a part of you. Like, what is that part? So we'll just keep having that conversation until they finally see that, you know, there's a lot of secondary gain from them doing this, but they get to decide to break up with that if they no longer want to feel like that.
Yeah. So have you had moments where you have actually outsourced, and we talked a little bit before we pressed record, but your own authority and looked outside yourself for permission or validation, and how did it turn out?
I believe that at every level and every stage of our journey and in every single season that we're in, we have to be consciously choosing our inner authority, right? So I don't believe that I get to a stage in my own development where I'm immune to it, right? Because a conversation that I have with my clients all of the time, and probably inside the Shadow Portal as well, is we get to a space where our ego actually re-evolves, where it comes back in, where it thinks, and we hear this all the time. Oh yeah, no, like I don't need more mindset stuff, or like I don't need to be doing personal development stuff. It's definitely my strategy, it's definitely my funnel. And it's like, no, that's actually just your ego's re-evolved, and it doesn't want you to see that actually this is the work that you need to be doing, sister. So I'm very aware of that in myself. So at any point in time, I can feel that. I'm like, oh no, actually that's where I need to look. So I've definitely had seasons where I will be, the noise will be loud, or I'll be questioning myself, and they can continue to pop up even in micro scenarios, and I will be able to catch them because I know this, right? So like, I'm not here sitting saying I'm immune to this and it will never happen to me again because I'm some secret source. It's that I know this, but I can now recognize my triggers or the patterns that are going to come up for me, so that then I don't let them take over, so that I actually stay ahead of what most people will just do on autopilot.
Yep. I think that's pretty unique though. There's a lot of women in my space that just can't make decisions, can't trust themselves. Do you see that as well? Even really high performing women.
Yes, absolutely. When I'm coming in as a coach, of course I have clients that are coming in like this.
Yeah.
But a lot of my style of coaching would be to get them into their power, would be to get them fully into their power. So a lot of my style of coaching is unconsciously, I will know what pattern you are trying to play with me. I will know where you are trying to do a certain thing with me, and I won't get involved in it with you. Now, I'll give you even an example of this in like someone's decision-making process and they come into my world.
Yeah.
I will not hold anybody's hand when they're coming in to make a decision as to whether they're going to come and work with me.
Yeah.
Because I know that I will then be holding their hand through the entire process and they won't ever be able to make a decision with me, right? So there is probably a element of readiness, and because someone needs to be ready to even look this deep, like in the work that we do. Does that make sense? Where it's like, they've had a certain level of personal development and they've had a certain level of awakening in themselves to be able to go, yes, Steph, like let's roll up our sleeves. I'm ready to actually see where I could level up as well. Even if I'm 7-figure entrepreneur, like it actually doesn't matter.
Yeah. Holding the mirror up can be really tricky.
Yeah. So a lot of what I love, like conversations with my clients, is like, it's actually in the micro moments of the day. It's actually it's not like this one great big thing that happens every 6 months. Because sometimes it can feel like that because you missed every single micro moment where you actually lent out. Right. So in my world, it's like, if I'm there with, you're my client, I'm like, oh, there you go. The thing about humans is we actually have to see it multiple times for us to be able to feel it, recognize it in ourselves. And that's where most people won't actually stay committed to doing the work.
Absolutely. And I think when I was, I was part of a big entrepreneur program, and everyone kept saying to me, you just got to keep doing the work. And I'm like, what is that? And limiting beliefs, I don't have any. So it was like, I don't know how to identify these. So I ended up creating my own method as well, because when I see someone doing something and I feel this feeling of, is it a pang of jealousy, or how are they getting that, or why am I not doing that? It's like, oh, okay, there's a little point to dig a little deeper, all of those things. But I just think that people in everyday life don't understand that. So I think the work that you do is so important, that we both do, to highlight that. It's not about telling people what to do. It's about holding that mirror up and letting them make those decisions and see it and have that awareness around their behaviors and patterns, and then make the changes.
100%. It's like showing them, right, in real time. For us, I guess, in that scope it's a lot of the time we see some things we don't really want to see. Like, it's kind of annoying. Like, I'll hold this space with my clients and have these conversations with my clients where it's like, oh shit, they just learned something. I just had to show them something, or they just learned something about themselves that they actually don't love. And so there might be a moment of like, but it's like, no, but now that you can actually start to choose different.
Absolutely. And create space for something different. Yeah. And who knows what that is? Opportunity. That's where the beautiful visions come in, right?
Exactly.
So you talked about building multi-six figures without choosing between business and life. Like, what does that actually look like when you're also, we go back to homeschooling your kids?
This just feels like the most natural thing for me to do. It's funny because I am this person who kind of just like gets like so in my zone, which has obviously been so great for my business. But like, I'll get so in my zone that it's like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm creating, this is how we live our life, that it just doesn't feel like a big deal. And so it's only when people say to me, Steph, like what you're doing or how you live is just like so crazy. Like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, what? Like, are we all just doing this? Like, I forget. I genuinely forget. And like, it's funny because I'll know it's school holidays because there's more people at the skate park, or there's more people at the pump track. But like, we're like, oh my God, like we just live like this. So what I mean is like, we don't have to overcomplicate it. I haven't overcomplicated it. It's like, I hear people and they will say like, I can't because my kids are this age, or my kids are doing this, or my kid. And I'm like,
only got 4 weeks of holidays a year.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. It's just like all of it together. It's like build the business, have the kids, live the life. We get to have it all, but we do have to set ourselves up to be the human who can actually handle that and who actually creates our life so that actually is what we do. But yeah, like I guess but I did come from like hustle vibes, and I'm still, like I said, I'm still a hustler at heart. I love to work and do the things, but like I did come from 9 to 5, 2 days off, getting home in the dark, leaving in the dark. And so now it's like, I will close my laptop today at 1 o'clock. I'll be with my kids. I don't know what we're doing this afternoon. Like, I literally don't know what we're doing this afternoon. And it's then I take Wednesdays to be day with mum, and I go to swimming lessons with my girl on a Thursday, like at a random time. And like, I'm just doing both. It's not a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that way, absolutely. You've integrated into your life and you're present because it's what you wanted. And I find I'm so similar to you. And we do stuff on the weekend, like owning your own business. There's no 9 to 5. There's no 2 days off on the weekend. You just fit it in and it works. I find it so interesting that people, how other people's brains work compared to mine, because clearly it's so different and so foreign, because I get the same thing, like, you're doing so much and what is it now and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, it's just my brain. It's how we go, and it's how the life that we wanted, and it's what we're creating for our kids.
Yeah, it just feels so easy. So I am the same. And I guess it's around standards and boundaries with my clients. And I serve my clients to a very high standard. And I also encourage them to have a life. And it's very common for clients to come into my world because they actually want both, because maybe one has stolen the other. Like, maybe the business has actually completely taken over their entire life, or their relationship, or their time with their children, or whatever it is. And we come in and we can create a little bit more I hate even the word balance because it's actually just life, but there's been like an overstepping of business. Or sometimes it's the opposite, where it's like people, they don't want to actually, like there's work required to do this too, by the way. You know, it's not just sitting back on the banana lounge, drinking the virgin pina coladas, because I don't drink alcohol, and the business lands in your lap. That's not it either. It's actually doing both. And that's easy when you are doing something that you actually love, right? So that's a huge conversation we have in my world too. It's business and life together, because you create a business that you are genuinely obsessed with, and that if you had $1 bajillion in your bank account, you would still wake up and do this tomorrow.
Absolutely. And I think that when you were talking about the boundaries, and that was just rang true for me in the beginning of our other business, we were messaging clients and everybody, there was no off switch. And so when an email had come through at 9 o'clock, I'd answer it. And it was from a state of fear and lack, because I felt like if I didn't do it, I would lose the clients, or, you know, I needed to do this for my team because they would leave if I didn't. So I think doing the work and feeling really comfortable in who you are, and like you say, I don't care whether people like it or not. This is just what I'm doing. You either come along for the ride or see you later. It's such a much more beautiful place to make decisions from and create that life that you want, because everything then flows with that level and energy. 3 years ago, I was certainly a different human.
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. It's so true. It's often, and when I'm having conversations, so if anyone's listening and they resonate with that piece, I guess, is I'm often having conversations with people who are like, and she messages me at this time, and I'm like, and you respond. And so, you know, so it's those conversations where we actually start to see where, oh yes, because I actually haven't communicated any boundary or even held myself to a boundary. And so this business is just not feeling how I would like it to feel. And when we can come back into responsibility for that, we can change it.
Absolutely. It's your business, so get your big girl panties on, which I'm talking to myself. I did that 3 years ago. Yeah. I'd completely given my role away. But it all happened for a reason. And I think that's another piece as well. If you can look at all of these things that sort of join the dot to dot of your life and take learnings away from it.
100%. Everything is a lesson. And I think that's what I trigger a lot of people with that in my life, where there's so many things that happen in our world and that happen in our life that we get to become a better human because of them. Like they don't actually need to be the thing, the problem. Like it gets to be, oh my gosh, shit, I've been doing that. Oh my God, that happened. Okay, cool. Like next, like how am I going to take that and turn it into something that's really incredible?
Yeah, what I'm going to learn from it. So what sort of patterns do you see in women who are trying to do everything all at once? And what do you think usually is getting in the way for them?
Okay, so if they're doing everything all at once, we're trying to do everything ourselves. I would look at where you actually don't trust other people. Now, a lot of people are going to say where you don't trust yourself, but I will start with, because that's what's going to come next. But a lot of the times we want to do every single thing for ourselves because we don't actually trust other people to get it right.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I would look at where in my life, if I could say that, even if you could ask that question. So like, oh, okay, where am I actually not trusting other people? And pause with that and sit with that. And maybe it doesn't land straight away, but then take that question for the next couple of days and actually see where in your life, when someone else needs to do something for you, when someone else says they're going to do whatever, what comes up in your body and your mind where you go like, should I do that? Or I shouldn't do that. Like, just notice that. So that energy of like needing to do, which is obviously the thing that burns you out. Yeah. I need to do everything. And it's because you actually lost trust in somebody else. Now, we could go back and see, where did you actually lose that trust? So if you feel like, okay, cool, I could actually, oh my gosh, that moment, cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of the style of my work is we don't actually need to go back all the time and see where it came from, because it just would have been reinforced so many times in your life. What you could actually start to do and play with today is, how could I trust this person a little bit more? How could I, like, so if, say, for example, my son's going to carry the water back with the paintbrushes and I'm like, no, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay. And you would say to your son, okay, you've got this, hold it and take it to the table, totally fine. And just notice what comes up in your body. Do you want to reach? Do you want to grab? Like, that's such a micro example, but I'll promise you that that'll be playing out in so many other areas of your life.
Like, so relatable. Mine was letting husbands take the dishwasher.
Yeah, right?
And
100%.
Yeah, control. Yeah.
Yeah. So that actually burns us out. So we don't feel like we can trust other people. So we have to do everything, but then we'll complain about having to do everything. And so the secondary gain is that I don't have to then maybe be vulnerable to trusting someone else, that potentially someone is going to quote unquote disappoint me, or I'm going to feel disappointed and have to experience that. That's going to be okay, right?
That's really interesting. I'll sit with that for a bit too. So yeah, absolutely. What would you say to the woman who feels like she has to shrink her ambition to be a good mum?
Yes, I will tell you that is not true.
Yeah.
There will actually be something else in that. So if that is what your conscious mind is telling you, that it's because you're being a mum, like I would look at like in what area. Is it because we can build capacity so that you can do both? You can mum and you can build a business and you can do it both well. But where are you trying to maybe fit into a box, or where are you trying to do it in a particular way? Where did you learn that you had to be either one or the other? And if you weren't that, then you weren't good at that. So you could look at like, okay, what is my beliefs actually around this? So because it's completely false, right? It gets to be false, but right now your belief system or your evidence in your life is showing you that this is actually the way. So where can you see that you are playing into that belief?
Yeah.
And if that belief wasn't true, this is another piece where you would go. Whereas like if that actually wasn't true, what would be the other thing that's holding you back right now?
Yeah.
What else are you actually worried about?
That's a good one. So you talk about becoming the best human you know. What does that mean for you right now?
What does that mean for me or for everybody?
No, for you personally.
Me. Oh, okay. I love this. So becoming the best human I know is about being proud of who you are and what you're creating, how you're showing up, how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you feel when you walk past the mirror on your way to bed and you're like, yes, like I felt so good today. What a beautiful day. How you feel if you're someone who's on your morning meditation or your morning walk, or it's me, I'm on my walking pad. It's like when you feel really proud, and it's not about I've ticked all the boxes because I've created the content and I've put out the offer and I've done the email sequence. It's about the way that you held a standard, the boundary that you actually held when somebody came to you and said this, how you actually like held your ground. Because it's not being the best human you know is not like all and only good things happen to you. It's things happen to you like they happen to everybody else because you're on Earth and Earth is duality and you're not immune from the quote unquote bad things happening. But becoming the best human you know is like you can actually deal with those scenarios. You can deal with those circumstances. When someone is, when you are having, and I've got a reel that's going real viral at the moment, but like when you're having the viral reel or you're having the things happening and people are saying nasty things about you, you actually don't lean out. You actually don't care. In fact, it makes you go even harder towards the thing that you want. When someone disagrees with you, you're actually okay with that. So there's also the part where we're no longer reactive to other people. We're no longer waiting for other people to do things. We're no longer deciding what we do next based on what someone else is doing. When you are someone who you are really proud of and like the best human that you know, you're not so influenced by what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, it's all internal and you're fully comfortable with the person that you are.
Yeah, and I don't believe that that's like an end destination. It's actually a journey because you are going to grow and evolve. Like once you wake up to the fact that you are the strategy in your life, you are constantly on this journey of seeing different parts of yourself all of the time, of becoming better. My journey or like my vision is evolution. It's like soul's evolution, the evolution of Steph Lenne, the evolution of every single person around me because of the work that I do on myself. That is what it means for me. It's like actually being a contribution.
Yeah, beautiful. And then I love being excited about meeting new people and the opportunity. Like I feel like people come into my life for a reason. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what it is, And you kind of touched on it, and this is the last question. We could probably talk for hours, but what are you currently being called into in this next season of your life?
Yes. So interestingly, in this next season of my life, when it comes to my business, I've been called into, because I very much lead with the human, right? I very much lead with the human behind the business. And these are the conversations that I'm obsessed with having. 2026 has really been a season of bringing that in with also business and like also business strategy. Because a lot of the questions I get all the time is like, if you're like this very human front, do you teach strategy, or am I going to get the strategy from you? So what I have done is I'm actually building out right now my behind the scenes methodology, which is the strategy behind building a multiple six-figure business, but also in every single in-between moment as you are doing this, you are building the human behind the business as well. So that has been like my calling for this year, where it's like really piecing together the behind the scenes methodology and having it all in one beautiful place. And I still love live coaching and having conversations with people, and everyone's like passive this and passive all the things, and I'm like, come in, sit down, roll up the sleeves, let's have a conversation at the same time. So I'm doing business in a way that actually suits me and my style of coaching. Like I want to teach you, I want to tell you the things, but I also want to sit you down and have really cool conversations with you. So I think the season is that, and the season is also doing it how I do it, having really big, loud, honest conversations. And even in 2026, that has meant some people have gone, I actually don't like you. And there was part of me even at the beginning of the year, and I was like, oh my God. But I thought, you know what? I've made it. Like, this is it. And then at the same time, they got the people who are like, I love you, I'm signing up for life. Like, how can I be in your world forever? And it's like, it's both at the same time. Just like I say about business and life, it's the same. It's like both at the same time because we're here on earth. So that's the season that I'm in at the moment.
That's amazing. And it's being your true authentic self. I know that word gets thrown around, but it really does get rid of who's not right for you and call in the people who are meant to be your tribe. That's amazing. And so where can people find some information about, is it a subscription? What's the behind the scenes program?
Yeah, so behind the scenes, I have the collective as well. So it's behind the scenes collective, where we come in and we do business and life together for 6 months, 12 months / the rest of our lives, right? But you come in and find me on Instagram. This is where I hang out all of the time. I obviously have a link in bio there, but you are so welcome to come into my DMs
as well. For anyone listening, they'll be able to find you there. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, it's been so cool having a chat to you about all of the things. I knew it wasn't just going to stick to one topic. Thank you so much for joining me on Thinking Out Loud.
Thank you so much. That has been so beautiful to have this conversation. Thank you.
You've been listening to Thinking Out Loud for the Ignite Her Collective. If today's episode moved you, share it with a woman who's ready to reignite. Subscribe for next week's reflection, and remember, it's not about doing more, it's about doing it anchored.